All right, so we're diving deep today into some pretty interesting stuff about the Champions Trophy. And, there's one matchup that everyone's waiting for, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, India versus Pakistan. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, and we got some great insight to help us preview this one. We're going to be looking at what Shoaib Akhtar had to say in his interview on Sports Talk.
Yeah, Akhtar, legendary Pakistani fast bowler, always has some interesting things to say.
Always does. And I think he's got his finger on the pulse of, this rivalry in particular. So let's just jump right into it. What was your first takeaway from the interview?
Well, I think the thing that really struck me was how he set the scene right off the bat. He made it very clear that India versus Pakistan is just different.
It's not just another game, right?
Exactly. He talked about how the stadiums are already sold out, the atmosphere is going to be electric. And he even had this really cool line in Hindi. He said, India, Pakistan, ekam dono kamo ko jaga deta hai, which basically means that this match, it wakes up both nations.
Wow. Yeah, that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it?
It does. It shows how deeply this rivalry runs and how much it means to people on both sides of the border.
So he's obviously excited about it, and when it comes to Pakistan's chances, Akhtar didn't hold back on his hopes for them to win.
Oh, no, he was very clear about that, especially with Pakistan hosting the tournament this year.
Yeah, he even said something like, win and go back home and then come here for the final.
Uh-huh. That's classic Akhtar. Always aiming high. It's interesting, though, he did acknowledge that some people might be writing Pakistan off.
I mean, they've had their ups and downs recently, for sure.
True, but he seemed pretty confident that they're in good form and capable of pulling off an upset.
Yeah.
He said a win against India would be a huge booster for the team.
And you can't forget the last time these two teams met in the World Cup. Pakistan didn't really have the best showing.
Oh, yeah. He actually brought that up. He said, we lost a very bad match against you in the World Cup, so we were very disappointed. But he was quick to point out that this time around, it's not about revenge.
More about just playing their best cricket right now.
Exactly. He stressed the importance of focusing on the present and playing good cricket and not getting caught up in the past, which I thought was a very mature perspective.
Definitely. And, we can't talk about this matchup without talking about India. They're obviously a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Akhtar called them a strong side and praised their deep batting lineup. But one thing that really stood out to me was what he said about Jasprit Bumrah.
I mean, Bumrah's a phenomenal bowler.
He is. And Akhtar went as far as to say Bumrah is like a whole team on his own.
Wow. Coming from a guy like Akhtar, that's really saying something.
It is. He was basically saying that Bumrah is so good he can single-handedly win matches for India. And he also mentioned Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli as key players he expects to perform well.
Yeah, you got to watch out for those guys. But what about the rest of India's bowling attack? I mean, Bumrah can't do it all himself, can he?
Well, initially, Akhtar kind of hesitated there. He said that besides Bumrah, no other Indian bowler really jumps out at him. But then he quickly corrected himself.
Oh.
Yeah, he said actually Mohammad Shami is also a Bahut Ak bowler Hain, top bowler Hain, a very good bowler, a top bowler. He called him a very honest, fast bowler.
So he's got some respect for Shami's skills too.
Definitely. And he also pointed out that India has some good spin options as well, with players like Kuldeep Yadav, if he's selected, and Ravindra Jadeja. So he ultimately concluded that India has many bowling options.
Yeah, so they've definitely got depth in their bowling attack. But let's talk about those big-name batsmen again. Rohit and Virat, they haven't always been at their best in recent Champions Trophy matches.
That's true. But Akhtar made an interesting point. He thinks that playing against Pakistan might actually be the thing that wakes up Virat Kohli.
Like the pressure brings out his best.
Exactly. He even mentioned Kohli's amazing performance against Pakistan in Melbourne.
Sure.
It seems like these high-pressure situations can really elevate his game.
Yeah.
And he hopes the same will be true for other players who might be a bit out of form.
Yeah, that would make for a really exciting match. Now turning to Pakistan's batting, Akhtar seems to have high hopes for Babar Azam.
He does. He really wants to see Babar deliver a big performance in this game. He's envisioning a scenario where Babar and Virat are both scoring runs, and you've got Shaheen Afridi and Jasprit Bumrah bowling those fiery spells.
Man, that would be something else. A real clash of the titans.
Wouldn't it be?
So Akhtar also delved into Pakistan's opening pair situation. He mentioned Saima Ayub and Fakhar Zaman.
Yeah, he started by saying they could be really destructive for other teams, but then he quickly corrected himself and said distractive, and that it would be a lot of fun to watch them.
So he seems to like their aggressive approach at the top of the order.
Yeah, but he did express some disappointment about Saima Ayub's situation. It wasn't entirely clear if he'd be available.
So that throws a bit of a wrench into things.
Yeah, Akhtar felt that Ayub and Zaman together would have brought a lot of energy and excitement to Pakistan's batting.
Speaking of exciting young players, Akhtar also talked about an Indian batsman. He's really impressed with Yashasvi Jaiswal.
Oh yeah, he was very complimentary of Jaiswal. He called him a bada talented ladka, a very talented boy and a Bahut Mazadar player. Haiwo. A very fun player to watch.
It sounds like he sees a bright future for him.
He does it. He even praised Jaiswal's performances in Australia under tough conditions. He highlighted his will, his faith, and his talent. It's clear that Akhtar admires his resilience and his attacking style.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear these legends talk about the up-and-coming players. They have such a keen eye for talent. And on that note, we can't forget about Shoaib Akhtar's own legendary status, the Rawalpindi Express.
Of course. So in the interview, they actually asked him what nickname he would give to Jasprit Bumrah.
Oh, I love this.
And he didn't hesitate. He said, Bumrah, the legend.
Perfect.
He called him a crazy talent and an honest fast bowler who's never let India down.
And that's really the perfect way to sum up Bumrah, isn't it? He's definitely earned that legendary status.
He's a special talent.
Yeah.
So overall, what did we learn from Shoaib Akhtar's insights?
Well, he definitely expects a close and high-scoring match between India and Pakistan. And while he's obviously rooting for his home country, he recognizes India's strengths too. We got some great analysis of both teams' bowling attacks and their key batsmen. And of course, we got to hear his thoughts on some of the rising stars in both teams.
But I think the most interesting takeaway for me was how he emphasized the psychological aspect of this rivalry, how the pressure and the weight of expectations can actually push players to perform at their absolute best.
It's almost like they feed off that energy, isn't it?
It seems that way.
Yeah.
So as we get ready for this epic showdown, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, I can't wait to see how those individual battles play out. Babar versus Virat Kohli versus Bumrah. It's going to be electric.
And for me, I'm really curious to see how the young players handle the pressure of this massive stage. It could be a defining moment for some of them.
Absolutely. This whole discussion about India and Pakistan, it really makes you think about the power of rivalry in general, doesn't it?
It does. You see it in all areas of life, not just sports. When you have that intense competition, it can really push individuals and teams to achieve extraordinary things.
Yeah, think about some of the great rivalries throughout history in business or even in the arts. Those intense competitions often lead to some of the most incredible innovations and breakthroughs.
It's fascinating how that works. It's like that pressure that needs to outperform your rival can unlock something special within you.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day-to-day, maybe take a moment to think about the rivalries in your own life and how they might be pushing you to be your best self.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a hidden talent or a new level of determination that you never knew you had.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and be sure to tune in next time for more insightful discussions.
See you then.
Bye. Bye.